Good evening, and you're all very welcome to tonight's webinar, which is being brought to you tonight by the Teagasc Advisory staff here in County Mayo. My name is Brendan Gary. I work in Teagasc and Ballinrobe, and tonight, for the next hour, I'm delighted to be your host for this evening's webinar. Now, this evening's webinar is the final episode in a new series of webinars which have been running since early January. Now, during this series, we have covered some of the key issues facing Irish farmers in 2024, and tonight will be no different. Tonight, we have two very distinct and different topics, but very important topics being discussed, with Francis Bligh, the Teagasc Health and Safety Specialist, giving us a talk tonight about farm safety. While later on this evening, my colleague Peter Comer from Teagasc and Ballinrobe will conclude this evening with a talk on initiatives aimed at improving water quality, so stay tuned for that. Now, you, the viewers, are being encouraged to engage with our speakers here tonight, and we encourage you to ask and type questions into your Q&A button at the bottom of your screens, phones or tablets. And later this evening, Vivian Silk, the Teagasc Regional Manager here in County Mayo, will put your questions live to both Peter and Francis. So type your questions in throughout the evening. As always, this webinar is being recorded and will be available to watch back on the Teagasc Mayo YouTube channel in the coming days. So without further delay, I'll now ask you, Francis, to start sharing your presentation with us, and it's over to you now, Francis.
Hi, Brendan. Hi to all the viewers. I'll just get my presentation up here now. Thank you.
No problem at all, Francis. No, take your time, yeah.
So how does that look, Brendan?
Yeah, that's perfect now, Francis. Yeah, so that's over to you now, Francis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So Brendan and asked me to kind of have a little conversation. I know health and safety is very important part of everything that we do as farmers. And construction safety is one of those areas that we need to kind of focus on and be aware, I suppose, of the implications of the types of work that we do on the farm and the impact that it can have. So just maybe to start off, the fatalities that are happening, I suppose, in the last 10 years, where are the big areas that are causing most of the fatalities? And we can see there that vehicles, at 44%, and machinery at 7%. When you add them two together, you're at over half the reason for the fatalities are associated with vehicles and machinery. Followed up then by livestock and falls from height. So falls from height really, and associated, I suppose, injuries associated with construction are where we're looking at or focusing our attention on tonight. But not to forget that vehicles and livestock are the main, I suppose, killers on farms. So we just need to kind of be conscious of that, and especially at this time of the year now with cows calving and all the various activities, the increase in work on farms, we need to be very cautious about that and remember that every time we try to do a little bit of work on the farm. From the perspective of construction and falls from height, where are these happening? So you can see falls from a roof there. We have 29%, falls from ladders, 33%. And there are other, I suppose, height-related fatalities, falling off vehicles, slipping off bales, and other reasons. But the two main ones that we're focusing on tonight are falls from roofs and falls from ladders. I suppose when we also think about it, it's not just sometimes the person, sometimes vehicles can fall from a height, and that can be over the edge, I suppose, of a steep incline. Or what we're seeing a lot of lately, I suppose, is these situations where machines are forced to go higher and higher, filling in pits. So it's very important for us now to think about maybe the coming season in relation to where we're putting our silage and how we're going to manage that silage, and are we forcing our contractors to work at ever increasing heights? So now is the time to think about it, and now is the time to do something about it. If you feel that this is an issue for your farm, it's important to take action and put the required facilities in place that remove the need to be going so high with silage pits. When we think about construction, sometimes you think about the greenfield site and you're building a shed or you're building a new shed on the side of your farmyard. But with the storms that we've had in recent days and recent weeks, there's lots of maintenance, and that maintenance then requires people with the correct skills to repair any damages that have happened. Obviously, we try as farmers to do the best we can to keep our facilities and sheds in good condition and maintained well. so that storms don't have a severe impact. But sometimes storms will have severe impacts, and it's important, first of all, to remember never to go out in a storm, to check on buildings or anything like that. Wait for it to pass, and when it has passed, then assess the damage, and always, get skilled labor in to do the repairs. If you're not in that kind of work yourself, if you're not a skilled person working on sheds and working at heights, then it's important to make the decision to get someone that is skilled and has the right equipment to do that work and is correctly insured. We can do some work ourselves, maybe cleaning gutters and some light work that doesn't require a large amount of equipment and a lot of skill. And when we do that, we need to make sure we're getting up to those heights safely. And you can see here the two different scenarios. I suppose you can see the farmer on my left is standing in the bucket of a loader. Obviously, nothing there to prevent him from falling. And you can see on the right there, this particular person has hired out a purpose-built mobile elevated work platform to do the work, which is power hosing that particular shed. So these are decisions we need to make. Are we going to cut corners and try and do things with equipment that isn't designed for it, or are we going to get equipment on the farm that will do it correctly? And this particular piece of equipment here, you can drive yourself. If you have a driver's license, you will get a short course before you take it out. The people that provide the equipment will give you the instructions, and you can take it out. And some people take it out for a few days and do a lot of work together. So, these are decisions we need to make. Or do we make the decision where we get people in that haven't, I suppose, the right equipment? You can see these two people up on the roof. There's no evidence there of I suppose, having the correct safety procedures and safety equipment, no hard hats. Or do we kind of look at this particular situation where they're working here on fragile roofs, they have the scaffolding, they have the crawler boards, and they have the correct equipment in place. So, these are decisions we need to make, and sometimes these decisions cost money. So it's not always easy, but it is something we need to consider every time we try to do work on the farm. Just an example of where a person has been fined by the Health and Safety Authority, where they didn't appoint a project supervisor for construction. And this is becoming I suppose, an issue or an area where farmers need to understand their requirement and their responsibility to appoint people to take on the role of managing the site and managing the construction project. So, this is one of some examples that are going through the courts at the moment in relation to inspections that have happened. Unfortunately, in this situation, there was a person that passed away and there was a fatality on the site. What is construction work? Construction work means the carrying out of any building, civil engineering or engineering construction work, and includes but is not limited to one of the following: construction, alteration, conversions, fitting out, commissioning, renovation, repair, upkeep. So that really means a wide range of different activities that come under that particular remit. And why do I say that? I say that because there's regulations and legal responsibilities associated with work that's termed construction work. What is that? So the first main one for farmers and for us as farmers to understand is you must appoint a project supervisor for the design stage, which is associated with the design of the building. Now, we're lucky in Ireland that we have the Department of Agriculture, which provide standard specifications for buildings that are being built. So that means that, there's standard requirements in relation to the steel and the supports and the timbers and the sheeting that goes on the building and how they're designed and the spans that you can go to with different specs of steel and timber. The project supervisor for construction stage must be appointed if the project lasts more than 30 days or 500 person days. So that really means that you as a farmer, if you have a project like a shed that you're going to build and it's going to take more than 30 days to build, or more than 500 days where people are on site, 500 days of people days on site, then you must appoint a project supervisor for construction. In addition to that, or if the project has any particular risks. And what do I mean by particular risks? Particular risks are if you have a likelihood of falling from a height, so if you're working on a shed, obviously that's a height risk. Burial under earth falls, which means if you're putting in a slatted tank, there's a potential for that. Engulfment in swampland, obviously if banks move in that, but largely that isn't something particularly that we as farmers have to deal with. Work near high voltage power lines, work exposing persons to work or risk of drowning. Sometimes that can be in a situation where, exposing persons to asbestos, or if you're working close to a river or close to areas where there's water. When you have your appointments made, there's a requirement to notify those appointments to the Health and Safety Authority. And when does that need to happen? So it's a duty for the client to notify the Health and Safety Authority. Again, when it's more than 500 person days or 30 working days, you're supposed to notify the HSA of your project and of the appointment of the project supervisor for design stage. When does the project supervisor for design have to notify the HSA? The HSA have to be notified if there's a non-compliance in any written directions. Mostly that doesn't happen for us as farmers, as regards most of the designs are standard. When does the project supervisor for construction stage have to notify the HSA? They have to notify the HSA again when there's more than 500 person days or 30 working days. They have to register with the HSA and they have to submit their AF2 form, which basically identifies them as the project supervisor for construction, and by default that means that they're taking on the responsibility of the health and safety management, the management of the site and management of health and safety on the site. There's, I've said a lot there, I suppose, in relation to, it can be quite confusing. The HSA have developed a booklet, and it's termed, and it's only really out in the last few weeks, just before Christmas, how to make construction appointments on your farm. So they see this as very important, and obviously with the legal, I suppose, movement in relation to more convictions in relation to this particular area, it's important that we as farmers understand our responsibilities. So this particular booklet is available and goes through the main requirements for farmers. And this particular booklet will be available in all the Teagasc centres. So if you'd like to have it, it's important to go into the office and ask for this particular booklet, and it provides a lot of information. There's a lot of other booklets that was produced by FBD in collaboration with Teagasc. It's Building Safety booklet, and that has it's a more comprehensive booklet, and it has a huge amount of information in relation to the various nuances of management of a site and the risks associated with it. And this is just one snippet out of one of the pages of the booklet. And obviously it goes into, the requirement to have the site secure, the requirement to have all workers on site having a safe pass, the personal protective equipment that must be on site. But largely, if you're appointing a project supervisor for construction, then they have the responsibility to ensure all these different requirements are being met. So you as a farmer have a responsibility to appoint the project supervisor for construction. If you don't appoint the project supervisor for construction in writing, then by default you are the project supervisor for construction, and that means that you take on the responsibility for having all this information, gathering all this information and keeping it on file and ensuring all the requirements are being met. Again, a large amount of information being delivered, and where can you learn more? Now, Teagasc provide half-day safety courses, and we cover this particular topic as part of that half-day safety course. So if you are thinking of a construction project and you want to learn more, then it would be a good idea to sign up for a half-day safety course, and you'd be joined by your colleagues, maybe 20 more farmers, and this would be one of the modules or one of the topics that you would discuss, construction safety on your farm. Now we have also produced a video, and it's quite a good video in relation to providing some information on construction on farms. And I might just try and show it to you now. Just if I stop share and I try and share that video.
Consideration must be always given to the potentially very dangerous nature of construction and maintenance work on farms, in particular, work at height. Use of a ladder to gain access to a height should only take place after thoroughly planning of the task, carrying out a risk assessment, and deciding a ladder is appropriate for the task. Before doing the work, ask yourself, am I competent? Should I hire someone trained and skilled in this type of work? Should I use equipment like an MEWP instead? When using a ladder, always set it up on firm ground, never on a movable surface such as tower scaffold, MEWP, pallets, or blocks. Have a strong upper resting point. Have the ladder at a safe angle, one out for every 4 units up. Secure the ladder properly. Use only for light, short duration work. Grip the stiles while climbing and maintain 3 points of contact, hands and feet, at all times at the working position. Move ladder location, never overreach. It is essential that farmers and building contractors construct buildings or carry out repairs in a safe manner to prevent serious or fatal accidents. The Safety, Health and Welfare Regulations 2013 and 2016 are in place to help create a safer place for all to work. When planning construction work on the farm, it is important to be aware of the hazards and associated risks. Carrying out construction work on farms places a legal responsibility on the farmer as the client to make appointments. A project supervisor design stage must be appointed to oversee design. A project supervisor construction stage must be appointed to oversee the safe construction of the building. FBD, Teagasc and the HSA have developed a Building Safety Guidance Booklet, which is available to anyone considering a construction project. Only employ competent contractors. All workers must be trained and competent. Falls from a height are a major cause of accidents on the farm. Of particular concern is falling through fragile roofs and ladders. 14% of all farm fatalities involve falls and collapses. You should only work at height if you are competent to do so and have appropriate and safe equipment. Mobile elevated work platforms should be used and not ladders or loader buckets. When painting, assess the work and the structure to determine if it is safe. Only remove bales using appropriate machinery and do not attempt to knock down bales using ropes or ladders. Farm construction and work at heights is potentially dangerous. Assess the risks and implement proper controls.
Okay, I might just also show the document if it comes up for me there, the building safety booklet that the HSA have produced. And again, I want to say thank you to the HSA for providing us with the slides in relation to construction on farms. So, you know, they have provided the detail and the information for this presentation. So they have produced this booklet, how to make construction appointments on your farm. And it's important that any farmer that wants to or is intent on doing some construction work, that you get this document and you read through it in detail. It has a huge amount of information, and it provides an easy step guide in relation to deciding if the project supervisor for construction stage needs to be appointed. I suppose this particular section here, benefits of making appointments for construction on your farm. It protects you, the farmer, against possible prosecution in the event of an accident or on a construction project. And by making appointments, you pass the responsibility of the safety management of the project to the project supervisor for design and project supervisor for construction. You have less likelihood of accidents on projects. When do you need to make an appointment? Again, just to reiterate it, and I don't want to take much more time from Peter, but will there be more than one contractor? If a farmer carries out or helps with the construction of work, then the farmer is considered to be a contractor. Will the work last longer than 30 working days or 500 person days? And will there be any particular risks? And we talked about the particular risks, they being working at height, working underground, or working near any particular risks like asbestos or power lines or water. So that particular document is there and it provides a large amount of information, and I'd really recommend any farmer thinking of doing any construction work on farm to get this document and read through it. So Brendan, I'll stop there, and obviously after Peter has talked, I'm open to any questions that the listeners might have or viewers might have.
That's brilliant, Francis. And look, thank you very much there. Indeed, look at that video there. Look at it captured an awful lot of your presentation, I think, and it really emphasised some of those key messages. And I suppose certainly with TAM's approvals now starting, many farmers will be, needing to be up to date in relation to all the regulations. So look at Francis. We'll just give you a few moments there to take a breather. And indeed, at this stage of the evening, I'll call on Peter Comer to start sharing his presentation with us. And indeed, you, the viewers at home this evening, we have a lot of viewers online continue sending your questions in there, and shortly after Peter's presentation there, Vivian will put their questions there live to both Peter and Francis. Indeed, some of you have done so already. So over to you now, Peter.
So thanks, Brendan. So Peter Comer is my name. I'm a Teagasc ASSAP Advisor, Teagasc ASSAP Advisor in County Mayo. And I'm ably assisted by my colleague, Mary Roach, who's also a Teagasc ASSAP Advisor based in Westport. So my presentation tonight, firstly, I just wanted to run through a few of these new water quality terminologies. Water quality is sort of becoming in the news now every day, and there's a lot of new lingo associated with it. So I'll just maybe run through a few of those terms, and they'll be coming up later, maybe in some of the presentations. And then the main thing I want to do tonight is just run through all this. There's a wealth of online information resources there with presentations on water quality. They're highly professional, highly informative, and you can actually listen to them. They're in video form, so you can replay them at your ease, and it's practically the same as being online when the presentation is being given, or maybe if you were at a conference, the conferences are put up online sometimes, and you can go through them at your own leisure. And then if we have time at the end, one or two take-home messages from some of the presentations. So just I regard this here as, the proverb, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish and you feed him for life. So hopefully tonight you'll have enough information on water quality to feed yourself for life on all matters to do with water quality. So moving on then. So these are the new terms or lingo that I'm on about. So I'll be going through them later. Wouldn't have time to go through them all now, but they will be coming up. If you watch the presentations that I'll be talking about, you'll hear all these terms, and they're becoming sort of day-to-day terms now, in everyday language when we come to talk about water quality. On the left, you have ASSAP, which is my own organization, Law Pro, EPA, ACP, Agricultural Catchments Program, all those sort of terms. They're sort of everyday terms now, and hopefully you'll get to know more about them as you look at some of the presentations. In the middle there, you have, as I say, very common terms that we use. Ecological status, that's really the big driver of water quality now from a Law Pro and an EPA point of view. Right, transitional waters, you'll often hear that. That's really estuaries, estuarine waters. Catchment science is a big one there. I mean, a catchment is sort of like a saucer. So a river, everything that drains into a river, you can call that the catchment of that river. So it can be huge or it can be small. The Mayo or the Corrib, they're massive catchments here in the west, whereas a small river, maybe like the Guishton or whatever, a smaller river, that'll have a much smaller catchment. So that's what catchment science is then, is examining all the stuff that goes on within that catchment. We'll be looking at kick sampling, another word there, macroinvertebrates. You could say, why don't we just say bugs? So this is what the catchment scientists look for in the river, but I suppose they have their term for it. Macro means large, or large-ish, and invertebrate means no backbone. So I suppose the term bug wouldn't really catch it in its entirety. Now, mitigation is a term there we're constantly using in relation to water quality. Mitigation is really sort of what can you put in place to stop or to fix the problem. You mitigate, you might stop the source or block the pathway. What measures can you put in place? So, I haven't really time to go through all of these, but as I say, you'll be coming up you'll be finding them out later on if you watch some of the presentations, especially Noel Meehan, our project, our asset manager, PIP maps there. He has a great presentation there on PIP maps. They're pollution impact potential maps for nitrogen and for phosphorus and critical source areas, flow delivery paths. So as I say, these are all the terms that are in common use now when we talk about water quality. And they are pathogen, right? Well, that's really, I suppose, the bad bacteria or things like E. coli and whatever. So over here, it'd be the Ishgairden or the National Federation of Group Water Schemes. They'd be very interested in getting rid of the pathogens before they supply water to the population, And then you have the whole term water quality. What is it? Because it means different things to different people. The water quality for the EPA is the chemical status plus the ecological status plus this word here, the hydromorphology status of the water, and this is what they report back to Brussels on to determine our water quality. Whereas, the tourists might look at water quality, and if it's nice and clear looking and it's safe to swim in, well, that's all he might be concerned with. Okay, so as I say, moving on then, some of those terms. So ASSAP, the Agricultural Sustainability and Support Advisory Program. So that's who I work with. We were part of Teagasc, and we were set up in 2018 then to try and help talk to farmers on a one-to-one basis or in a group basis, really, to try and explain what's causing issues with water quality and some of these mitigation measures, simple mitigation measures that we can put in place to fix the problem. They don't all have to cost money. It could be simple things like observing your buffer zones or spreading your slurry at the right time. Common sense things that don't always cost money, as I say. And here, so that's our logo. Then Dairy Sustainability Ireland, they're also part of ASSAP. That you have all the co-ops coming together, well, the dairy co-ops, and they supply 17 ASSAP advisors. In Teagasc we have 20, so 37 in total there. And the dairy ASSAP advisors, well, they obviously go out to the dairy farmers mostly. So that's it. And then LawPro here at the bottom, as I say, we're working with LawPro. That's the local authorities waters program, and I have a slide on that. Okay, so as I said, the ASSAP there, we're working in these another word for you, priority areas for action. So there's 190 of these around the country, and it's areas where the water quality just is not quite great. It might be at Q3, which is moderate, or Q2, which is poor, and they wouldn't pass the test for the Water Framework Directive, which we need to have our waters at Q4 or Q5, so good or excellent. And that's important for when you're reporting back to Brussels, and we have a target of having all our waters at good quality or better by 2027. So that's a very difficult task. But anyhow, we'll see where we get. We're providing free and confidential farm advice out to farmers on a one-to-one basis, and the farmer can accept us or not. Generally, we have got great interaction and acceptance from farmers, thankfully. And as I say, we work closely with LawPro, and they provide us with referrals because they look at the local streams and rivers to see where the problems are. And of course, it's all funded by the Department of Agriculture. So just running through some of the websites again, as I said, I really want to show you where you can get information. That's my whole purpose tonight. So you can hop into the LawPro website, and you'll get a lot of information there on their work and what they do. As I said, LawPro, you have your catchment scientists who go out into the small rivers and streams, and they try and pinpoint the local sources of pollution or what's causing a river to be downgraded or a stream. So that's the main aspect of the work. But they also have community water officers there, which work with local communities establishing little projects, especially getting children involved as well in trying to get everybody on board. And they have the Community Water Development Fund there, which they give out small grants to communities to help improve water quality. So that's LawPro, the Local Authorities Waters Programme. Now the EPA, well, this is the big one in terms of water quality. As I said, these are the ones that do the official reporting back to Brussels on our water quality. And so, you know, if we're not improving or whatever, you know, you get consequences like there, as we saw, where we lost our derogation there from the 250 down to the 220. And the big task now, I suppose, is to try and hold it at the 220. But a lot of information on the EPA website, but the main one I want to bring you to is here, catchments.ie. So if you click on or go into catchments.ie, this is where it'll bring you on to that page there. So it'll show, right, there's 46 main river catchments in the country, 583 sub-catchments, so that's the smaller streams, and then 4,800 or nearly 5,000 water bodies. Okay, so you can click on any of these or click on the map in your own area and zoom in as close as you want, and you'll be able to find the quality of the water in your local stream if it has been assessed, and most of them have, as I say. Now, the unfortunate thing is, of those 5,000 water bodies, in or around half of them are not meeting the standard for the water quality directive, you know, so they're Q1, Q2, or Q3, shall we say. And the other half are, so Q4 and Q5. Here in the West, we're slightly better on the nearly 70% are reaching the Q4 and the Q5. But still, if we look at the map here, as I said, that you can zoom in on, all those colors there, they're streams or rivers denoting the water quality. And the brown ones there, well, they're Q2, so that'd be poor. The yellow is Q3, okay, and the green is Q4, and the blue is Q5, or the pristine water qualities. So on this map, it's only the green and the blue that are reaching the targets for the Water Framework Directive. So that means there's a lot of work to be done here to try and get these brown ones and yellow ones at least up to green, if we can, by 2027. So that, as I said, that screenshot there from the catchments.ie, that's shown Mayo there with all the streams. So in Mayo, you have two huge catchments, the Moy, with all the streams sort of flowing north or northwest and out into Inniscrone. And then in the south of the county, we have the Corrib catchment with the streams there. Most of them flow into Lough Mask and Lough Carron, Lough Mask, and then on into Lough Corrib and out into Galway Bay. Okay, so that's the EPA website. Very, very useful information. And all those PIP maps and different maps you can get, they're all on the EPA website. So still going then, you have this is the main thing I want people to remember tonight is on the Teagasc website, you'll come on this, the signpost webinars. And the signpost webinars, they're on every Friday morning, 9:30 to 10:30. And they're really high quality webinars there that you can just register online, just an email address and a password, and away you go, and tune in online and listen to a high quality presentation on either, usually it's on water quality or greenhouse gases, how to prevent it, or improving biodiversity. But it's not solely on those. So, for example, the 9th of February there was a good one there, Barry Caslin on solar panels and the like. And I see there this Friday, the 23rd, we have a certain Francis Bligh there, I see, doing his health and safety webinar. So Francis is on overtime this week. But one here that I really want to mention, last Friday's one was our colleague Noel Meehan, who gave a brilliant presentation on slurry, maximising agricultural benefits and minimising the losses. So this one, if you missed it, it'll be a great one to look back on. Now, because it was only on last Friday, it's probably not up online yet. It usually takes maybe a week or 10 days to get it up online because it has to be edited and all that. But when it does go up online, make sure you look at that one if you have any interest at all in water quality and how to mitigate against slurry and the bad effects of that. Okay, so that's the webinar, but the main thing I want to talk about on the signpost webinar, and one of the huge benefits of it is this page here. So if you scroll down on the previous page, you'll come to this here, previous webinars. So this is really where the nuggets of information are. So as you can see, we started the webinars back in COVID in April 2020. So you can click on 2020 webinars, 2021, 2022, and 2023. And in that, let's say there's around 40 webinars there because it started in April. There'll be around 50 or 51 there, the same there, and the same there. And as I said, around a third of these are on water quality issues. Really high quality presentations on that. So an absolute mine of information there. So just looking there, I see the 12th of January, you had Aoife Feeney, an Upfield scholar. I saw that one. She gave a brilliant presentation there. I think it was on farmers in New Zealand as well. So it's not always related to Ireland. And I see right Noel Meehan there again gave a talk there on a life project, and there we had a wetlands forum one. So there's an absolute, as I say, host of high quality information there, well worth a look. And that's really my main point of tonight's talk, is how to get onto that webinar. Just go onto the Teagasc website, or just Google signpost webinars and it's going to come up. And then, as I say, whatever webinar you want, all you have to do is go down, scroll down and click the red button there, and away you go. Ideally, if you have, it's better to watch it generally on a laptop, and if you have a headset, you won't be annoying other people in the house maybe. But high quality information and very easy to access. And I just quickly, I just went through the 2020 webinars and just look at all those there that are on water quality. Patrick Truhey kicked the ball off there with drainage and water table management. We had Jenny Deacon from the EPA. We had Johnstown Castle there, Carl Richards and Karen Daly explaining nitrogen and phosphorus, the relationship with water, minimizing nutrient losses. I can't go through them all. But then you have the ACP there, they're common regular contributors there. That's the Agricultural Catchments Programme, which is a very important program, the 6 catchments, where they do high resolution monitoring of water. They take samples every 10 minutes from 6 catchments, and they take samples, as I say, high resolution samples, leaving it, and they test it for practically everything. So, and they have a bank of information there. And the other good thing about this is 2020, but some of these here, some of these presentations will be repeated in 21 or 22 or 23, not fully repeated, not maybe even the same speakers, but the information is updated. So it's always the latest information you get, whether it's on trials or as I say, on the high resolution data, leaving the catchments. So very important that, and as I say, I can't recommend it enough to look at it. And just as well on that, we had a webinar, or we had a conference there. Teagasc had a water quality conference there in the spring, and there's a load of 5 or 6 really high quality presentations on that too, and that'll be up online shortly, and you can click on that as well. Now, I said if I had time, I'd just have a quick look at 1 or 2 of the pages from some of those presentations. So I mentioned LawPro, the catchment scientist. So there's the catchment scientist doing his kick sample. He's searching, so it takes 2 minutes to cross the stream, and he's searching for these macroinvertebrates. So the common ones that we know and love are the mayfly. I hope you've heard of the mayfly, the fisherman's friend. Unfortunately, you will not find it now in lots of places where it used to be because of either nitrate or phosphorus or sediment, So there's the mayfly, really, really important species. You should be finding loads of these in clean, unpolluted waters. Okay, and especially with gravelly bottoms, not so much in waters with silty bottoms, but of course that could be as a result of sedimentation. The caddisfly, another important one, very common. There, he builds his own shed around them. And then you have stonefly. So when the catchment scientists go to look for, see the water quality in your local stream, these are the guys that they're looking for. They want to find loads of these. Okay, they don't want to be finding a heap of these, which are the pollution tolerant species, such as freshwater shrimp. You'll find loads of these, especially now if there was a septic tank leaking into a stream. You'll find hundreds of these guys, freshwater shrimp. If there was a lot of sedimentation and a murky bottom to the water, you'll find lots of leeches and worms and snails and things like that. So, when the catchment scientist, as I say, does a sampling, it's the proportion of these, because you'll always find some of these, versus the proportion of the good bugs. That's what determines whether you're Q3 or Q4. So one passes the test for water quality, the other one doesn't. Just quickly, another one for this is from Noel's presentation there last Friday. A great photographs there from a colleague down south. Again, shown slurry spreading there on the 25th of January. Now, everything could have been right. It was the ground was trafficable. Maybe there wasn't rain, but I mean, the farmer here in question didn't observe the buffer zone there, which at that time of the year should have been 10 meters. So he should have been 10 meters back from that stream. Okay, and there you see the same area on the 12th of February. So what's that? 2 weeks later, heavy rain came, and of course it flooded out this area here where there shouldn't have been slurry in the first place. At least if the farmer had kept back the 10 meters, it would have been much safer. You'd still have some losses, of course, depending on how heavy the rainfall is. So this, these are things to look out for. You'll find all of these in the presentations that I've just mentioned there. So really useful. So that's really my talk, really to say that the internet, it's a highly valuable resource, just to avoid the fake news. Lots of excellent quality presentations on water quality, and of course greenhouse gases and biodiversity as well. So especially the signpost webinars, that's the one I was pushing there. The good thing is it's free. Okay, all you have to do is click on it and really make some time, if you can, for some focus browsing if you have any interest at all in water quality. So thanks for that, and back to you there, Brendan.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, and indeed a brilliant presentation there and some great resources there. I'll just get you just to stop sharing your presentation there just for a moment or two, Peter.
Yeah, stop share. Okay.
That's brilliant now indeed. So indeed, just a reminder again to our online viewers that we have time for questions and answers. I see a few of them there already. So indeed, at this stage of the evening, I'll just ask Francis just to come back to us again. And indeed, I'd like to hand it over this evening for the final time this evening for this series to our regional manager, Vivian Silk. Good evening, Vivian.
Thanks, Brendan. Can you hear me okay there, folks?
We can, yeah, Vivian, yeah.
Very good,
thank you.
very good. Okay, I have a couple of questions here, and as Brendan said, don't be afraid to start typing. We have about 15 minutes left to deal with them. First one for you, Francis, if that's okay. Peter will give you a chance to catch your breath there, and thanks to the two lads for presenting. Is a project supervisor required for building PDHs on farm? Do you understand the question, Francis?
So PDH, I just assume, I suppose, the PDH is a personal dwelling house. I'm not sure. The listener or the viewer might just confirm what they mean by PDH. But yes, if it's a dwelling house being built on a farm, it's the same rules and regulations and legislation. The construction regulations apply to that particular site, and the project supervisor for construction must be appointed for that particular project. Yes. There's no difference. Like the problem we have really is that the same rules apply when if we're building a new Dunn stores in the middle of Ballinrobe or whatever type of a building we're building, it's the same rules apply, same legislation applies to a farmer, and that's just been implemented in more detail now.
Okay, the person that asked that question is just after coming in with the second one to confirm that yes, that's a private dwelling house, Francis. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Another question for you, Francis, while you're on the mic there. If an inspector from the HSA arrived on farm when a construction project was in progress, what would they look for?
So I suppose it depends on the focus of the health and safety inspector. The majority of times that the health and safety inspector comes on the farm, it's for the farm inspection. It's really an advisory visit on the farm, identify some of the areas on the farm where a farmer may need to some improvements. They'll be obviously looking at PTO shafts, they'll be looking at covers, they'll be looking at the maintenance of the tractors. But if there is a construction project happening on the farm, then they will have a focus on that as well, and they will obviously request information on the site associated with who is the project supervisor for construction of that particular project. And that person then will have to provide details of the people working on the site, their safety file, information associated with SafePass, information associated with the equipment used on site and its certification, information on any training in relation to working at heights. So there's a large safety file, suppose. The legislation requires a safety file to be kept on site and available for view. So the health and safety inspector will apply the same legislation to that particular site, as I said, to any other project that they go on the day after that might be a larger project.
Okay, great. Thanks, Francis. This question, I suppose, is a quite a broad one, but it affect us all, maybe not just for farm jobs, but probably other jobs around the house, around the yard. I have a handyman in for a week or so doing some painting, including some roofs. What should I do with regards to safety? This particular individual works for cash, but is a good, reliable worker. And I suppose the follow-on question is from that is he responsible for his own safety, or is it the landowner or the household person?
So farmers need to think always about responsibility. And when you request a person to do work on your farm, you are legally required to ensure that there's a certain amount of time spent on making sure they're competent to do the work, that they have the training to do the work, that they have the likes of a SafePass and the correct equipment. In addition to that, then it's important to check that they have insurance and that their insurance is up to date. You also need to ensure that you talk to your own insurance company in relation to works that are happening, that you're letting them know that this work is taking place and this person is coming in to do the work. But if you're working at height, it's important that they would be prepared to sign to say that they are taking on responsibility. So they are taking on the project, the role of the project supervisor for construction. And largely, people that are working for cash, it's sometimes they don't wish to take on that level of responsibility. So really what I'm saying is that it's always best to go with a company that's registered, that has the insurance, that has evidence of the correct training in place, that you have evidence of that they've done this type of work before. And it may cost a little bit more to bring them people on site. But if God forbid that person that's working for cash had an accident, then you're going to have a lot of responsibility associated with that. And when that ends up in court, and the Health and Safety Authority do inspections, it's very important that you have everything done correctly. And sometimes that isn't always possible if it isn't a registered company that you're actually kind of hiring.
Okay, thanks, Francis, for that lengthy answer to the lengthy question. But it's commonplace, and I think what you said there is very good advice. We all have insurance. We don't ever want to use it, but sometimes we have to. Okay, over to you, Peter, for a few moments.
Okay.
So, Peter, you did a lot of detailed description of the webinars there. So, in terms of people watching tonight in terms of the signpost webinars, do you have to be a Teagasc client to get access to these signpost webinars that are on Fridays?
Oh, no, Vivian, good question there. No, you don't have to be a Teagasc client. You just have to, if you want to watch the webinars live, you just have to register. So that's just your email address and a password for yourself. And the good thing about registering is you'll get an email then every week notifying you. You'll get it the day before. You probably get it that morning, advising you or reminding you that when the webinar is on and who the presenters are. And you'll also get a reminder of who's coming up in the next few weeks. But so you don't have to be a client, but you have to register. But then if you just want to watch back on those nuggets of information on the old webinars, you just go onto the Teagasc website, the public website. It's free. And click in signpost webinars, and away you go. You pick what year you want and scroll down and just press play.
Okay,
and
thanks, Peter.
It's as I say, an excellent source of information.
So similar kind of access to our own local series that we're finishing up tonight, the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
People who registered would have got an email to say it's on tonight and so on. So fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Peter. Another question now, slightly different. Is sediment loss not a natural process with rivers? And if that's the case, what are the main mitigation measures to prevent sediment loss?
Oh, right. Yeah, well, I mean, sediment loss, you could say it's natural in that a lot of the banks of the river are made up of sediment, silt and clay and that. But what mankind has done over the last 5,000 years is, he has removed a lot of the vegetation. Obviously, if you're going farming, you've removed a lot of the vegetation. We have deepened the rivers. We have straightened the rivers. We've done all sorts of things to make the sediment loss more likely. So we get bigger floods coming down, ripping into banks and carrying loads of sediment in. So while it is natural, we as farmers, we as humanity has done an awful lot to increase the sediment. And the thing about sediment is it's just as dangerous, even more dangerous than nitrate and phosphate in terms of killing those good macroinvertebrates that I was on about. The mayfly, they have to have gravelly, clean water. So what can we do now at this late stage to stop it? Well, we can fence off our streams. We can stop cattle pulling the bank into the stream. We can fence off our water courses and provide alternative water. We can adhere to our buffer zones. They're very important, sort of a barrier to stop sediment coming into our streams. We can stop overwintering cattle and putting ring feeders. They are near drains or streams, because the field is blackened. I'm sure we've all seen them around the country, and next thing the rain comes, as it always does, and it'll wash in it'll wash in the clay, and it'll wash in the dung as well. So, lots of things there. Like if we can improve the river bank itself and stop stuff going in, that's a great way of preventing sediment. And then, of course, if you're up the country on the good land and the tillage, they have lots of sediment issues too. That's because where they plough the ground. And of course, if you plough ground and next thing it pours rain and you have a bit of a slope, you'll get a load of sediment going into the stream. And so they're advised then, to put in catch crops over the winter to stop this sediment moving, and also to catch that extra nitrogen. And they have to leave buffer zones, unploughed buffer zones as well, especially along the stream. So there's lots of things, as I say, we can do to prevent sediment.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Peter. Just switching back to Francis now for a few moments. Francis, this viewer or this listener has a village road runs through the land. They want to know, can they open 2 opposite fences to allow cattle to cross the road, or is plan permission needed to erect 2 gates to do this, something like that?
Okay, Vivian, like my advice, I suppose, would be for them to contact an engineer or the council. I'd imagine that they're going to have to get approval from some authority to open up 2 gates off a road if they're haven't been there before. So my assumption would be that planning permission would be something that they should apply for if they wish to do it, in the correct way. So obviously, a local engineering company, the people that are involved in preparing planning applications, they'd be able to advise on it, or maybe just call into the local authority and they'd be able to advise on it too.
Yeah, I'd say from my own knowledge, I think the call to the county council would be the first step, and that they would advise. And I'm pretty sure that you need plan permission for new gates on a road, irrespective of how small it is. So
obviously, from a health and safety perspective, it would be excellent to have them in place if they're approved. Obviously, the least amount of time animals are on the road, the better. And obviously, also having some way of holding the animals on close to the gate before they cross is important too. So you can get those mobile cattle handling equipment. You can get 60% grant on those now at the moment. So they'd be handy to have there available to have the cattle secure before you go across the road with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question for you there, Francis. Do Teagasc provide information or advice on construction safety?
So Teagasc provide information and advice on I suppose the location and development of the actual facilities that you're going to put in place. The actual management of the site and the safety of the site isn't the responsibility of the Teagasc Advisor, but we do have a lot of information and we have a lot of documentation that points you in the directions that you need to go, and I suppose triggers maybe the questions you need to be asking yourself about the people that you're employing. So Teagasc advisors aren't going to be responsible for providing advice in relation to safety management of the site, but we have a lot of documentation and we have a lot of, I suppose, of experience as advisors of who it's important to contact to make sure that you're making the right appointments in relation to the project supervisors, that you're hiring the companies that have the insurance, that are registered, that have the trained people. These are the type of kind of encouragement and advice that advisors will be giving you.
Okay. Final question for Peter, and I keep the answer as brief as you can, Peter. We're almost out of time. And you alluded to it in your presentation. In fairness, is water quality better in the west of Ireland versus the rest of the country?
Well, in general, yes, Vivian. Obviously, you'll often get one of those Q1s or the red streams in the west too. But overall, water quality is better in the west of Ireland. We're let's say in Mayo, I know we're up near 70% on the good, which passes the test for the Water Framework Directive. But overall, as I say, it's only about 50%.
Okay.
So we're that little bit better anyhow.
Very good. Thank you, Peter. And again, thanks to Francis for joining us this evening. I'll hand it back to Brendan to conclude.
Thank you very much, Vivian. And indeed, we're just about out of time this evening. I'd like to thank our 2 panelists here this evening, Francis and Peter, for their help with this webinar. And indeed, thanks to Vivian there for facilitating the questions and answers here tonight. But most importantly, thanks to you at home this evening for engaging with our panelists here tonight. We hope you found the webinar beneficial. We'll get the recording uploaded to the Teagasc Mayo YouTube channel in the coming days, so keep an eye out for that. Before I conclude this evening, there are a few colleagues I'd like to give a mention to for their help in making this series a success, including Tara Guinan from the PR department in Teagasc and Oak Park, Bernadette Lynn there in Teagasc and Ballina for help in promoting the events each week, and to Teagasc UCD master student there, Roisin Scully there from Teagasc and Ballinrobe, for her help behind the scenes with questions and answers there. And of course, thanks to Vivian there for his help over the last 7 weeks, handling the questions each night. So thank you very much, folks. We hope you found the webinar beneficial, and indeed the series in general, and all previous webinars there are available to watch back there on our Teagasc Mayo YouTube channel. So indeed, check out that channel there. So with that, I'll draw the series to a conclusion, and it's good night from us all here in Teagasc and Mayo, and we'll see you all in the future again, folks, and take care and good night. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.